ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਜਸਟਿਨ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਭਾਸ਼ਣ ਦੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਅੱਜ ਉਹ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਕੀਤੀ ਕਿ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ ਤੇ ਕਿਊਬੈਕ ਵਿੱਚ ਫੌਜੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਜੋ ਲੌਂਗ ਟਰਮ ਕੇਅਰ ਹੋਮਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਹਜੇ ਜਾਰੀ ਰਹੇਗਾ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਫੌਜੀਆਂ ਵੱਲੋਂ 26 ਜੂਨ ਤੱਕ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਾਣ ਦੀ ਮਿਆਦ ਨੂੰ ਹੋਰ ਵਧਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਗਿਆ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਐਲਾਨ ਕੀਤਾ। ਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਸੂਬਿਆਂ ਤੇ ਟੈਰੀਟਰੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸੰਧੀ ਹੋਈ ਸੀ $14 ਬਿਲੀਅਨ ਦੀ ਮਦਦ ਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕਿ ਕੋਵਿਡ-19 ਤੋਂ ਉਭਰਨ ਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ, ਉਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਫੇਰ ਬੈਠਕ ਹੋਈ ਸੀ। ਪੂਰੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਦੇ ਦੌਰਾਨ ਕਈ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਤੇ ਚਰਚਾ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਆਖਿਰ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਉਹ ਪੈਸਾ ਲਗਾਇਆ ਜਾਣਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋੜਵੰਦ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਰ ਦੀ ਮਦਦ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਇਸ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਾਸੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੇ ਹਾਲਾਤ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਉਭਰਨ ਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਮਦਦ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਚਰਚਾ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ। ਜਿਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਸ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਦਾ ਜ਼ਿਕਰ ਵੀ ਕੀਤਾ ਜੋ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਸ਼ਾਮ ਤੋਂ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਭਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਾਫੀ ਵਾਇਰਲ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਚੀਫ ਐਡਮ ਦੀ ਗ੍ਰਿਫਤਾਰੀ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤਸਵੀਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੇਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਿ ਚੀਫ ਐਡਮ ਦੀ ਗ੍ਰਿਫਤਾਰੀ ਜਦੋਂ RCMP ਅਧਿਕਾਰੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਅਧਿਕਾਰੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਕਾਫੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਜ਼ੋਰ ਦੀ ਵਰਤੋਂ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ, ਜਿਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਉਹ ਕਾਫੀ ਬੁਰੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਜ਼ਖਮੀ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਗਏ। ਇਸ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਦੀ ਨਿਖੇਧੀ ਵੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਵਤੀਰਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਨਿਖੇਧੀ ਵੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਜਸਟਿਨ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਦਾ ਜ਼ਿਕਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਆਜ਼ਾਦ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਸਾਫ਼ ਤੇ ਨਿਰਪੱਖ ਜਾਂਚ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਵੇਗੀ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ RCMP ਦੇ ਉੱਚ ਅਧਿਕਾਰੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਖੁਦ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਵੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਮੂਲ ਨਿਵਾਸੀ ਤੇ ਕਾਲੇ ਭਾਈਚਾਰੇ ਦੇ ਲੋਕ ਜੇਕਰ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਤੋਂ ਖੁਦ ਨੂੰ ਸੁਰੱਖਿਅਤ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਵੀ ਸਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਬਰਦਾਸ਼ਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾਵੇਗਾ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ RCMP ਕਮਿਸ਼ਨਰ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ। ਇੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਨੇ ਅੱਜ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ 3 ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਯਾਤਰੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਹਵਾਈ ਸਫ਼ਰ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਦੂਜੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਤੀਜੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਹੀ ਹਵਾਈ ਸਫ਼ਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਬੁਖਾਰ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਜਾਵੇਗਾ। ਜੇਕਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਨੂੰ ਬੁਖਾਰ ਪਾਇਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਦੂਜਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਖਤਰਾ ਬਣ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ, ਜਿਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਉਡਾਨ ਭਰਨ ਦੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੀ ਰੋਕ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਜਾਵੇਗਾ ਤੇ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਸਫ਼ਰ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਇਜਾਜ਼ਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਜਾਵੇਗੀ। ਇਸ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਨੇ ਅੱਜ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ।
Over the past few months, our government has been working with the provinces on providing care for seniors and the most vulnerable. This includes by deploying members of the Canadian Armed Forces to certain long-term care facilities. In Ontario and Quebec, we are extending this deployment to June 26th. Our women and men in uniform are doing a remarkable job. Their help is still needed, so we're making sure that our elders continue to have this vital support. To restart the economy, to get Canadians back on their feet, we need a coordinated countrywide plan. And at the heart of this approach must be how we do this safely. In country after country, state after state, a pattern is emerging. People make sacrifices needed to flatten the curve, but then when governments decide to restart the economy, cases begin to rise again. And after months of hard work, people are finding themselves right back where they started. Canada must learn from these lessons. It's clear that we have to make safety and control of this virus a top priority in this restart. So that's exactly what we're doing. Our government is working with the provinces and territories to bring in the right measures to keep Canadians safe and healthy. Last week, I put forward our government's commitment, $14 billion towards a safe restart agreement for the things that Canadians will need in the 6 months ahead. At our First Ministers' meeting yesterday, the Premiers, the Deputy Prime Minister and I continued our discussion on what this plan might look like. We talked about the measures needed, whether that's childcare and paid sick leave, contact tracing and testing, or PPE and support for the most vulnerable. And we talked about the fact that we must keep working together to support Canadians right across the country. We have all now seen the shocking video of Chief Adams' arrest, and we must get to the bottom of this. Like many people, I have serious questions about what happened. The independent investigation must be transparent and be carried out so that we get answers. At the same time, though, we also know that this is not an isolated incident. Far too many Black Canadians and Indigenous people do not feel safe around police. It's unacceptable. And as governments, we have to change that. In my discussion with the Premiers yesterday evening, I brought this up. All leaders were united in condemning racism and in agreeing that we must do more to combat it. I raised with them some of the ways we can work together moving forward, including on practical things like the adoption of body cameras. This is something I've already discussed with RCMP Commissioner Lucky. But reforms are needed at all levels of policing, and these reforms need to happen quickly. In the days and weeks to come, our government will continue to move as fast as we can with all of our partners. Women and men who serve in our police forces must be part of the solution. They are people who've stepped up to serve their community, and they will be invaluable allies as we move forward to make sure that all Canadians are well served by these institutions. Today, I also want to speak about the progress we're making on travel and on our work to keep Canadians safe. Right now, physical distancing is still the best way to protect yourself and others. Of course, there are some places, like on flights, where it's not always possible to keep 2 meters apart. That's exactly why we've made it mandatory for travelers and staff to wear masks. We've also worked with airlines and airports on standards they should have in place, whether that's enhanced cleaning or putting distancing measures as people wait in line. And today, I can announce that we're taking another step forward. Our government is mandating temperature screening for air passengers through a phased approach. First for those traveling to Canada, then for those traveling from Canada, and finally for those traveling within Canada. A passenger who has a fever will not be permitted to board their flight. Employees in the secured areas of airports will also be required to have their temperature checked. There are strong measures already in place to keep people safe, and this screening will add yet another layer of protection. Right across the country, in every city and town, Canadians are stepping up to help. If you want a great example, look no further than the Filipino Canadian community. In Surrey, the community set up a blood donation drive as their way to pitch in. In Calgary, an organization called Fiesta Filipinos is raising money for care packages for families. As we celebrate Filipino Heritage Month, we can't ignore the ways in which our country must do better. Too many members of this community face discrimination, something that has gotten worse because of this pandemic. There is no place in this country for racism against Asian Canadians or anybody else. Now, more than ever, we need to stand up against discrimination and injustice in all its forms. As Canadians, we are always stronger together. Okay. As I said from the beginning, we were going to be there and we are there to help out our seniors in the long-term care facilities in Quebec. From the beginning, they were there to stabilize the situation, to set in place protocols and measures that were necessary while the situation was out of control. But over the past couple of months, the extraordinary work done by the members of the Canadian Armed Forces has made a huge difference. And many facilities have gone from condition red to condition green. We will continue as a federal government to ensure that our seniors in Quebec are protected. We are proposing and working with the province of Quebec to progressively replace those military members with trained people from the Canadian Red Cross who will be paid, who will be properly trained to be able to continue the important work being done while Quebec works to get its system back under control. I think everyone who's seen this video has serious questions about what exactly happened, about how it happened this way, and about that use of force that we saw. That's why we're calling for an independent, transparent investigation that will get the answers that so many people are asking right now. Our decisions from the very beginning have always been anchored in science and data. From the very start when we took office, we made significant changes to shorten the wait times, but they were still unacceptable. That's why we gave funding to Canadian Blood Services and Héma-Québec to do the studies necessary to be able to bring in new protocols, and we are very hopeful that we'll be able to announce the results and the change very soon. I think we've seen examples of systemic discrimination, of systemic racism in the past days in many different ways. That's why we need to address it seriously. That's why we need both clear, independent, transparent investigations in the cases brought forward. But it's also why we need to look at the entire system to improve it, to make sure that situations like this don't happen in the future, and that our police officers who are there to protect and serve all Canadians are able to do that for all Canadians. We are very hopeful we are going to be able to move forward to deliver for people with disabilities across this country. We know that they're facing extra costs because of this pandemic, and that's why we move forward a bill, and we even offered to separate out that bill so just that measure could be moved forward on. Unfortunately, as we saw, other parties did not want to move forward even on that one thing. So we're now looking at ways of perhaps being able to deliver that without having to pass through legislation, but it will be more difficult and may take longer. I think the Supreme Court decision is good news for minority language communities right across the country who've long felt that they haven't been receiving the right levels of services from their provincial governments. As a federal government, we've moved forward in many ways to strengthen protections and support minority language communities across this country. But we now hope that the provincial governments will step up further in areas that are their exclusive jurisdictions, like education and certain services for minority language communities. As a federal government, we will always stand ready to support and help minority language communities across this country. We talked about the idea of thermal screenings for travelers a number of months ago. It was highlighted at that point, and still remains the case, that it is not a way of detecting COVID-19 in travelers. But it is an additional measure that can highlight symptoms of COVID-19, can highlight if someone is ill and shouldn't be traveling at all. It's not the panacea, it's not a 100% solution. It is an extra layer of safety to encourage people who might feel sick to stay home and not travel and put others at risks. And it also aligns with what many of our international partners are doing as well. It is something that is an additional measure that can make a difference, but it has to be included with a suite of measures that we're moving forward with to keep Canadians safe.
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ, ਮੈਂ ਨਿਰਮਲ ਮਾਨ ਪੂਰਾ ਟੈਕਸ ਸੈਟਲਮੈਂਟ ਤੋਂ। ਇਹ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ ਟੀਵੀ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ। ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੇ ਹੋਰ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਭਰਪੂਰ ਵੀਡੀਓ ਦੇਖਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਟੀਵੀ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਚੈਨਲ ਨੂੰ ਸਬਸਕ੍ਰਾਈਬ ਕਰੋ ਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੇਠ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਹੋਏ ਬੈਲ ਆਈਕਨ ਦੇ ਬਟਨ ਦਬਾਓ। ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ।